Orb presents Orb.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And this is like when it's 3:14 o'clock on the 14th of March.
It's only going to be confusing this one time. There's no other repetition.
They didn't do an episode called "And I'm Gary Butterfield."
Yeah, that'd be weird.
That was good of them.
It'd be an honor, but it'd be really weird.
It would depend on the content of the episode. I think it could be a great dishonor.
Man, they really gave it to this Gary guy.
Yeah, just Brock punching me in the nuts for 22 minutes. And Dean just cheers him on.
Yeah.
We're talking about the episode we got our name from.
Yeah, Operation Rusty's Blanket, or orders regarding something or other.
Bodyguarding.
Bodyguarding. Yeah. The great Sandow and his chocolate recipes.
Sandow. Sandow. Walking around doing Sandow, or doing the Elder Venture voice. Sandow. Yeah, this is a weird one. It's a really cool episode, like undeniably cool.
Yeah.
In my rewatch, I forgot how little the orb matters. How quickly they drop all of this shit.
It is such a MacGuffin. I think that it ends up like it ends up just like as like a literal paperweight on somebody's shelf. Not like where they find it, but just like it's just kind of cast off to the side, and then it just disappeared into a guild warehouse, never to be seen again. It is a consummate MacGuffin.
It's very strange. It does not present as such. This episode is interesting because it presents as this huge turning point for the series that just doesn't turn. And they talk about that. They're aware of it. They're like, oh, we're just doing a character show. We don't really do a show about magic spheres. And I'm like, no, but you made an episode about a magic sphere.
You did. And like there was cool stuff. And ultimately, I'm pretty happy they didn't pick this particular exit to get off on, let's say.
Yeah,
you know, I think the surface streets that they find later are better than like, what if there was an orb that was an infinite engine? Yeah.
I agree too. It just makes a weird watching experience.
It does.
Like, not unpleasant, full of interesting lore, but like strange.
Yeah. This one was written by Doc Hammer. It originally aired on August the 10th of 2008. And as I said, this is lore heavy, and it kind of looks at like why the Venture family is so important, like even separate from Jonas's work, and kind of how the events of the series have these ties back to this long history, kind of related to the organization that was the precursor of the modern guild and OSI. And, kind of implied to be this extension of an Illuminati type thing.
Yeah. And really importantly, one organization.
Yes.
The guild and OSI, we keep referring to them playing, during this. And that has its origins in the fact that they were all kind of all of a piece at some point. So of course they're just playing.
Yeah.
And we'll get more of that stuff when we get the next season with Sphinx.
Sphinx.
Sphinx. So this is the first episode that Doc Hammer wrote for the season, but it took him tons of drafts and a very long time. So it just kept getting bumped back. And eventually this ends up being kind of a soft ramp into the finale.
Yeah.
This is kind of part 1 of 3 of the finale.
They do the dangling post credits that is that directly precedes the action of the next one, kind of like the episode that ended with the cocoon rushing towards Spider Skull Island. Although I think they took a 2-episode break between those.
Yeah, they did chill for that for a moment. It's a long rush. It's a big ocean. And this one, I love the backstory on this one. They talk about in the commentary, like, what if we actually did a real commentary? You're gonna see how insufferable and proud this is. And that does come through, but also just the fact that, like, the original scripts for this were like 40 pages long.
Yeah, like
or whatever.
They wrote it like it was an hour special.
Yeah, Doc put in a lot of monologues about stuff he happens to like he's Kojima or something.
Yeah.
Or like he's writing a non-airy game. Like it's very funny. Like he's just was like, yeah, I love classic art and the fin de siècle, and I love to just kind of make a little story about this where characters explain these Wikipedia entries that I like to each other.
Yep. I just want to write my own version of the National Treasure with things that happened just slightly too long ago for people to care about.
Yeah, I got a use out of my major.
I mean, aside from the fact that he was living as an artist before this,
let's get more use out of it. You got to strip that thing to the bone.
True.
Yeah. So the kind of centerpiece of that is this idea that Doc Hammer has that the portrait of Dorian Gray exists, not in a magical way. Like he doesn't think that the supernatural portrait of Dorian Gray exists, but he thinks that there is a painting that is based on.
Yeah. Specifically, it was made after the book was created, but like the guy, the people that he used for the models, basically that he used. Okay, this is the painter character, and then this is Dorian Gray himself. Wilde knew these guys. And it turns out that Whistler did do a portrait of de Montesquieu shortly after that, and that kind of ended up in the Frick Museum, which I honestly would like to go see, based on how enthusiastic Doc Hammer was when he was describing it in the commentary.
Sure, it's fine.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like I have this very strong feeling of just kind of like, I love how this guy can sell enthusiasm. For things, but it's going to be a small museum with a lot of classical art in it.
Yeah.
As opposed, like when I go to a museum, I like the wide berth, the wide variety of art. Like part of it is the history. And he's like, man, it's awesome. It's just this like billionaire who curated all the stuff he could afford. And there's all these amazing Whistlers and Rembrandts and stuff. And I'm like, usually I spend, just a little bit of time in the Whistler and Rembrandt room of my total time in an art museum. Like I want to see people fuck shit up.
True. I want to walk through. I want to walk through movements, right?
Yeah. I want to watch that, and I love modern art. I want to see people creating weird experiences and showing me stuff that isn't just like. I like classical art. This is making me sound like a Philistine, but like, what if a dude was standing? Like I can appreciate that. But not. It's not why I go to museums.
Yeah. Well, it's also like I've been to MoMA and I've been to the Met, and like you just what else is okay? What else is there to do? You can go back because obviously you can't see all of those in one visit. But also this is like small and doable. So as part of a bigger trip, it seems like a cool thing to do.
He sells it as a like if the Met is super crowded.
Yeah.
Like go here instead, and you're just gonna get all thriller, no filler. And I'm like, man, when I went to the fucking Met, they rebuilt a pyramid. Like I got to walk into a pyramid from the outside.
Yeah.
And they recreated a tomb. Like that is worth a good amount of filler.
Yeah.
To deal with that.
As always, porque no los dos. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying like burn the Frick Museum to the ground or anything. He was describing it in a way that made it sound the opposite of what I want of a museum.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a weirdo, and he's really good at portraying the stuff that he likes, as inherently interesting, and that's what this episode's about.
Yeah. So we do get a look at the old whatever the organization was before it became the Guild.
The Gilded Age is what they call this crew.
Yeah.
That's where they live, but that's the name they've been using for him when they refer to him.
And of course, like a lot of these people are dead or wouldn't have been this old. But of course, the history is a lie. Like which president, the real president, And I love the I love the original lineup that Doc proposed. Just like people that nobody knows, like all of these French novelists, the Goncourt brothers, Sar Peladon, Rudolf Steiner. Like, okay, what about this Austrian philosopher and clairvoyant?
I'm exceedingly happy that didn't happen.
Me too.
I love that Jackson Public was just like, no. Like
people need to understand this.
You're doing a product that people have to like. Like you can't just like it was a weird. Like I love this episode and I love Doc Hammer, but it was a weird. A lot of this doing this podcast has been me being like, man, I love these boys. I just want to hang out with these boys. I could see that. Like this is the first time I was like, man, Doc Hammer might be hard to work with. Like it seems like he takes feedback well.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to be like, nobody cares about your specific little pet thing. Like, we're actually making a product. But I wonder, it made me think like how many other times that came up.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, where he's just like, oh, let's put in this guy that I read about. And that kind of enthusiasm over Wikipedia, like projecting your pet interest onto the world because you think it's interesting without actually presenting anything you think is interesting about it.
Right.
You know, just like presenting as a reference is kind of a pet peeve of mine that I didn't really realize was a pet peeve.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's I mean, like if he had been like, here's Sar Peladon instead of what we got, which is people like, you know, Mark Twain and Aleister Crowley. Yeah. League of Extraordinary. It would be more indulgent than this kind of already is. You know, and like this is something where you can see the benefit of a creative partnership, right?
Yes.
You know, like you're able to sharpen your knives against each other, you know?
Well, and Public, you know, undeniably in this duo has more commercial taste.
Yes.
You know, in terms of things, like I think that Public has his eye more on like, we're making a fun product that's funny and actiony, you know, and continuously does. And that mix is really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about if they had put like Sar Peladon in this, the absolute best case scenario is I went and Googled Sar Peladon afterwards.
Yep.
And then learned what was cool about him because I wouldn't get anything from the episode.
No, it would just be three white guys, like not to be reductive, but that's what it would come across as in animation, right?
Yeah. And it reminded me a little bit in a weird way of when we covered Neo for Bonfireside Chat.
Oh yeah.
You know, where like a bunch of characters just kind of walked up and they just said their name and I was supposed to know who they were and I didn't.
So
and
then the game and holler and throwing your popcorn up. Yeah.
Yeah, like hell yeah. Like look at all those chappies, date. And I was supposed to do that kind of shorthand. And with the way that they did this, it's like, oh, I know who Aleister Crowley and Oscar Wilde, Mark Twain are. Like I had the cultural libretto for it, which was really important. You know, to making this work, I think.
Yeah. Something about getting those older folks in, and also just the extended kind of sequences that are flashbacks, but also like specifically flashbacks to the cartoon version of things that happened in Rusty's life. We get kind of a wide variety of visual styles here, so they had to do a ton of like modeling work to say like, okay, like how are these visual styles distinct? So you get this, you know, amazing 60s action cartoon style for the Rusty Venture show, and a really neat ornate Gilded Age style that's kind of like desaturated, but also like way more ornate than the Venture Brothers like house style would allow.
I love everything with the old Venture Brothers cartoon. For some reason, when you read about this episode and stuff, there's some kind of a little bit of debate as to whether the old Venture Brothers cartoon was animated. And I'm like, why? Because in this episode, they show that they put codes in like the smoke. Yeah. You can't do that with smoke.
Right.
You know, like of course it was fucking animated.
Yeah.
But for some reason you'll still see that question, like, you know, pop up in like fan communities and stuff, whether Doc was just playing himself.
Yeah. I never questioned it. Like, Rusty's not an actor is a thing. Anytime he ever gets up and, you know, tries to fake something or lie, you know, portray somebody else, he's not good at it, you know, like. I think that the argument, if it would be that it was like more like a documentary kind of thing, right? Like all this stuff actually happened and there was just like a camera crew there or some shit. But I swear I've seen like either Doc or Jackson say like, we're not sure if this was animated or not. And I'm like, of course it's fucking animated. Billy finds a smoke code. You know? Yeah. So then it ends up being them being voice actors, which is very, you know, because it's definitely like Rusty's young Rusty's voice and Colonel Gentleman and stuff. Yeah.
So,
or it's a visual, or it's just kind of a plot device where like it wouldn't make sense to recast these. So, you know, just have the characters play themselves, you know.
It'd be way too complicated.
Yeah.
Like this show within a show that, you know, doesn't exist has actors that we're never going to meet who, you know, it just would get very confusing.
Yeah. That was a fun gag when they were casting themselves on Seinfeld, you know, when they were doing the show. It wouldn't be great here, I don't think.
No. Works on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
One of the many things that works on Seinfeld and not the Venture Brothers.
You know? I have a big list on the wall behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our very specific sub podcast. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it. We open with the Rusty Venture cartoon. The half jackal has taken Jonas Venture hostage. He's beaten him up and has him at gunpoint. And he's demanding that Jonas hand over the plans.
Yeah, but the plans are in his head, so why don't you try beating more of them out of me? The camera pulls back with Rusty on Kano's shoulder, aiming a rifle, and Curl Gentleman telling him to take the shot, like it's gonna kick like a mule. When you do that, and Rusty just being abused. I love I don't know, I love child abuse in this cartoon.
Yeah.
And in general,
I mean, it's just like the fact that this is just kind of portrayed. I mean, it is shown as dramatic, but also it's like shown as normal and necessary and laudable. Yeah.
There's the Action Man waking him up by firing blanks in his.
Not
There's
today.
no reason why Kano couldn't do the shot. It is just such a gross, like Bart's going to kill a deer. Moment.
That boy's gonna see somebody die, and if he doesn't want it to be his father, he's got to pull that trigger.
Pull the trigger. Yeah.
So not only you are going to kill somebody, and you're gonna live with this for the rest of your life, but also it might be your dad, and you would have to live with that for the rest of your life as well.
Yeah. Either way, you have to live with your action or your inaction. It's a really horrible trolley problem.
Yeah, supremely fucked up.
Yeah, sniping half jackal is the new trolley problem. So he does it, and then the footage that we're seeing pauses on the exhaust from the muzzle, and then rewinds and freeze frames to show a code. And we get to see Underwear Billy, just coded as unemployed, basically.
Yeah.
On a couch next, watching this, and calls for Pete to come in.
Yeah. Pete is just utterly disgusted by the depths to which Billy has fallen here.
That's what he should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Billy also has like just a big old sun tea jar full of piss right there.
A piss bucket. A shit bucket.
And I forget if this is from the commentary or from the art book. The piss jar is a Doc Hammer detail. One time he had a piss jar for 11 months, and he thought about selling it on eBay before realizing they wouldn't let him do that.
Yeah. Gross, dude.
Gross.
I don't what like, have you ever like inside a structure piston sling that wasn't a toilet or a sink?
God, no, nothing. Nothing is so important that I couldn't take literally a minute to walk to the next room and use it. Yeah. No,
I've peed in a car.
Yeah,
before, like you're in your early 20s and your bros don't want to stop.
Yeah,
and it's like that sucks. We all know that sucks. Like. Dipping your dick into a Dr. Pepper bottle or whatever.
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, just the horrible, like, it's basically a jigsaw puzzle or trap. Like, you're just
stick.
But I mean, like, not even. I mean, just you just put your dick over the rim. It's fine. But just like watching it fill up and gauging the rate of fill versus how much you feel you got left in the chamber.
Oh yeah. That's it's so I do not like, come on, man, no piss bucket. Like, just get up. I know you love your work. Get up.
Yeah.
The code in the smoke describes lengthened circumference of a cylinder, and this is the final piece of the puzzle that Billy's been searching for 30 years. And this is, he holds up a empty toilet paper tube, which then you can use as this type of cipher, a cylinder cipher, which you can wrap the paper with the gibberish around it to get the actual code.
Yeah, have things line up. It's called a sidily, I think. And Billy is distraught because he thinks that it just has yielded him another code. Your prize has more work to do. And he reads off a bunch of it, but then Pete says, "Oh, it's a URL." But that's impossible because the Rusty Venture cartoon is from the 70s. This is never addressed. And I'm not going to be, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder. It's just funny given how well the rest of it is put together.
I don't really understand, what this choice, I guess.
Yeah.
But it goes to a MapQuest link, basically, and it shows the Venture compound, a specific place in the Venture compound. And the really cute little beat before the thing where Pete's like, and look at this, I could save 1.3 miles if I take Ridge Street to the Venture compound. Which, as far as I know, they live on, or live like right on the periphery of.
They live in a desert. It's a completely different biome.
Oh, it's very close though,
Yeah.
because God, there's yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what evidence I have of that, but it is nearby.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of biomes. It's like Springfield.
But we get our intro sequence, and we go over to the compound. Peta's there, and Dean is running a slide presentation. He's kind of made up like, hey, here's the breadcrumb trail that I followed, of all of this, all of these
Billy.
ways that information. Yeah, Billy, yes. Billy was saying like, here's all of the ways that this information that is really important has been encoded into like minor details. So like the way that like lines on a pyramid are drawn as Morse code, stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty cool shit.
Yeah.
Rusty, doesn't remember this. Like all you've proven is, you have too much time on your hands, and I would rather learn the mystery of why I haven't got any money from these DVD sales, which is a kick in the dick.
Yeah.
It was just DVDs of him getting, being forced to murder. The final slide, this all leads to this blueprint of the compound in a specific spot. The codes lead to this location, and Brock's like, "Yeah, that's my herb garden, Doc."
And the
he
herb
tries to
garden,
pull him aside. I'm not gonna, dig in that.
yes, the herb garden was actually established like season 1, I think.
It's guild wasps are landing on his herb garden.
Gotcha.
At one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, but Rusty refuses to go off to the side of him. Hank, of course, reads this whole poll aside, thinking, okay, Brock is gonna swear or talk about naked sex ladies, which is one of the better kinds of sex ladies.
Yeah. Brock, he said he gives it up. He's like, when I was given this excellent assignment, I was given explicit instructions to watch that spot of ground.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dig there. And Rusty, of course, says, well, your employer will. He wants treasure. He's like, I'll do it. I'm not a coward. I'm up to any task. I rode a Komodo dragon. They have dangerous spit. Again, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Just really, really laying out that way. Like, we all know Komodo dragons are cool, Doc.
Yep.
And we cut to him. He says anyone's up to the task, but he's dressed his children as slaves.
Yeah.
From their slave outfit to make them do it.
Yes. So he is sitting under an umbrella at the pool, barking orders to Hank, who is doing the digging. And he has Dean bringing him a picture of our first Docktail.
Yeah, red mocha cooler.
Yeah.
Which, if the show gets successful enough, we'll have to try at some point. It's Kahlua, Hershey's chocolate syrup, unstirred, and then a sprinkle of red Kool-Aid on the top to form a crust.
Yes. You are not mixing the red Kool-Aid in. It is supposed to be, floated on top. You're supposed to float.
Nothing gets mixed. Yeah. So in the best will in the world, I was trying to think of what this would taste like. Because I was like, doesn't Kahlua already taste like Hershey's chocolate syrup?
I mean, Kahlua tastes like sugar. It's technically a coffee liqueur, but it tastes like sugar.
Yeah. And then just chocolate syrup, which this one, at the very least, doesn't give you the proportions. Like, I think at the worst, this could taste like drinking cherry coffee or cherry Kahlua.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty bad. My favorite Docktail is the one with the tall pour of grenadine. We're going to get to that, but it's so fucking disgusting.
I need to check the expiration. I have a bottle of grenadine in my fridge that like,
hell yeah.
And no. And I mean, thinking about grenadine, you're using a dash of that every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. You give yourself a tall pour.
I mean, it's just cherry. It's literally just cherry simple syrup.
Syrup, yeah. Like, this is Doc's sweet tooth is very funny to me.
Yeah, but also like, so you say, okay, it would probably just be, just like cherry chocolate or whatever. The fact that it's not mixed in, like, have you ever tasted just plain unsweetened Kool-Aid mix?
Yeah, it's very tart.
Oh, it's incredibly sour. Yeah, this would have a certain amount of kick to it. Bite.
Yeah. It'd be like something in like a coffee chocolate sour head kid or something like that. Yeah. Pretty gross. Pete White is being smart and just sticking to Fanta.
Yep.
So good for him.
Yeah. Hank hits something. He thinks, okay, awesome. We found it. And he opens it up. He thinks it's a box of old mops. But in fact, it is Scamp's corpse. The Yeah, the dog that Doc skinned. Yeah.
So we cut over to Brock laying in his room listening to Zepp, and Rusty tunnels through on accident, throws through his window in this avalanche of dirt with all of this stuff.
Brock's
on it.
exasperation as more people fall in, bringing more dirt with them,
falling into his room.
Yeah.
They found a box here. It has lettering that says Venture Bodyguard. So they know it's for Brock. This is super confusing, and they were confused about it when they were making it. Again, just kind of this episode flying pretty close to the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pete and Billy fall in next, and they compliment Brock's pad. I love that Brock's solution to all of this is to just go away and like mope like a teenager. Just mope I'm gonna go be the dad from American Beauty for a little bit. Yeah.
He's got conflicting orders.
Yeah.
He can't stop Doc, but he does, he has to protect and also stop him.
And Billy gleefully holds up this old cigar box that he recognizes from the cartoon. Like, oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Hank and Dean fall in. Hank says he's got even more treasure. He's got this card and this strange coin, but it is Dean's Pog Slammer and Yu-Gi-Oh card. And Rusty takes them away. What did I tell you about gambling? Very good. Like gambling on Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, good.
So Rusty, the boys, Pete and Billy are at the kitchen table opening up a cigar box, and it has a long strip of paper, which Billy can now decode or can still decode because he has the toilet paper tube.
Yes. But back in his room, we have, one of the other pieces of the puzzle here. Brock has, looked in his box and found this vinyl cylinder, like a little phonogram kind of thing. And he puts it on, and it's a real ass person. It is Sandow, the famous bodybuilder,
the father of bodybuilding.
Yes,
the first bodybuilder.
Yeah, and just if you're picturing like a 1900s bodybuilder, like old timey, lifting like lifting round weights on the beach in a striped onesie with a big old mustache. Yeah, that's Sandow. He's the guy. That's Sandow for you.
That's what we call, hey, baby, that's Sandow.
But he used to be the bodyguard for Colonel Venture, who was Rusty's great-grandfather.
Yeah. And in this flashback area, when he's talking, on the way to the flashback, he's talking about he didn't believe this device he was told to protect existed. We go into the flashback, this large, ornate, Arcana-mass Zeppelin is under attack. And Phantomus, Phantom Limb's grandfather or great-grandfather, says that, the guild is at war with itself. We must activate the device. Colonel Venture says, we can't do it. That's only when we run out of options. And we get this little shtick of these old-timey League of Extraordinary Gentlemen guys kind of debating this.
Yeah. Mark Twain steps in saying, the guild's on the verge of losing everything. He is on Phantomos's side in this. And Venture says, no, the orb was designed for the good of mankind, not to be used for selfish purposes. Phantomus says, okay, well, what is the guild for if not for deciding what is best for mankind?
Yeah. Yep. Oscar Wilde pops in, saying, for shame, we should not do this. Our order is meant to protect man at his best, not to become a guild of calamitous intent. Wink. But the elephant in the room is that the ball does need to be tested.
Yes.
And who jumps on this but noted obese pervert Aleister Crowley.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Not a good dude.
Yeah.
Not because he's obese, but just
right.
It's a weird. Whenever they show him, a lot of times they'll this shows him as chonky. A lot of times they portray him as like kind of an evil wizard,
like a Rasputin kind of guy. Yeah.
He says he's about to grab the orb to use it for himself. But Sandow grabs it from him, tosses it to Venture, and then takes Crowley out and, heat signatures him.
Yeah. He gives him the old no ticket treatment. A hit lands, the Zeppelin shakes and everyone falls over. I love this. Like, okay, the other factions, Tesla and the Avon ladies have landed an attack. I love that it's the Avon ladies.
The Avon Ladies is very funny.
Yeah.
In real life, the Avon Ladies were founded by this point, but they had a different name. They're
Yeah,
called something
yeah.
like the California Perfume Company at this point, but this is funnier. Avon Ladies is one of those things where, like, by the time I was hearing about it, it was already gone.
Yeah,
But it was still
yeah.
like a constant joke on like Animaniacs. You know, the Animaniacs would lie and say they're the Avon Ladies all the time.
Yeah. Can I make a recommendation, not just to you, but to people in the audience?
Of course.
There's a very good podcast called The Dream. They did their first season on like specifically multi-level marketing aimed at women. Kind of talking about like Avon and oh gosh, what are some of the other ones, like makeup stuff, and then like ultimately like VersaLife, is that one of them? I think you know what I mean.
VersaLife is the name of a company in Deus Ex, but like,
Yeah,
I know what you
they're
mean.
working for VersaLife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very good. They talk to a lot of people who got sucked into it, and some people who had a good experience, way more people who had a bad experience. It's good. Just the mention of the Avon Ladies here reminded me that was a good ass season of a show that I just fell off of, because they started talking about the wellness industry, and that's just kind of boring. Just lots of sunning your taint, and that's it.
Hey, taint's got to get. Has my taint ever seen the sun?
It's kind of like having a friend who's never seen the ocean. Oh, we got to fix that, buddy.
Yeah. Just thinking about it. I think not.
I mean,
I've been nude outside. Very rarely, but
I mean, if it was going to happen, like, did a parent or a caretaker ever change your diaper outside, like at a picnic or something?
Yeah, I think your privilege is showing if you're the kind of baby who had their diaper changed, Cole. Like how many times I have to tell you about my horrible upbringing. Yeah, that would be the way, I guess. But it's been a while for the old girl. Yeah, sunning your taint.
Yeah.
I will subscribe to this podcast. You told me.
Oh man. But I just love that the Avon ladies are just up there in their own personal aircraft.
Very Arcanum.
Yes. But Sandow, he makes his case. He begs Venture, not to use the orb, but he knows what he must do, right?
Yes. And he starts doing this chess metaphor, and he runs out of cylinder.
Yeah. As he's recounting, recounting here, so
you and I are like pawns, but no,
Yes.
the horse pawns that can move like an L, etc.
Yeah. So there should be a second cylinder where this continues, but all that is, there's nothing in the slot. There's just a booklet labeled "Orders Regarding Bodyguard Termination Clause."
Yeah. Hank is reading the results of the codex in the cigar box, which is this riddle. In Minuet's bargain sets the house that Coke built. In the quiet room, or the loud room of quiet whistlers behind the gray gentleman, sits the 221210.
Yes.
And Pete's Googling it. Minuet is the guy who bought Manhattan Island. And he's just like very excited. Like, we're just going to Google all these riddle results.
Yeah. Like these old timey fools didn't count on us having the internet, did they? Ha ha.
Yeah.
This is not going to work because information is different than knowledge. Yeah. So, they conclude, okay, so Minuet, that's Manhattan. The house that Coke built was obviously Studio 54. The famous, disco, cocaine palace. And Billy is delighted, just not only is he, somebody who has demonstrated he will try and solve puzzles for 30 years, but like this globetrotting adventure is just like the old show that he is a huge fan of.
Yeah. This is rock and roll fantasy camp. For him. And when he says it's just like the old show, we get the intro from the old show, which I really love. Like a bunch of these shots are just stolen specifically from old Spider-Man and old Johnny Quest and stuff. It's super good.
Yeah. Sponsored by smoking. Yeah.
Smoking, just in general.
But just Rusty struggling under the trap net. Like, just wiggling.
Yeah, it's good. So we cut over to Billy in Rusty's old seat in the X1. He's like, "Oh, I'm in your old seat, aren't I?" Rusty's pretending not to remember.
Yeah.
And they make it to Times Square, having put on their outfits, their costumes. Rusty calls him on this. He's like, "No, I mean disguises." And it's Rusty's old costume, which is has not grown along with him. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
And Billy has made his own Quizboy outfit.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
I like his question mark hat. Like that. That's fun. He's wearing like kitchen like dishwashing gloves. He's got a grappling hook dangling off of his belt. But all of this is kind of undermined. It is obviously homemade, but it's creepy because we get to see Billy's very hairy upper thighs.
Yeah. Billy's whole body is like a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Back at the compound, Brock says, "Hey, did you guys find another cylinder?" Dean says that their dad took it to New York City. He's thinking they didn't though. He's thinking of the toilet paper tube cylinder. So again, this is some weird shit to try to get across in animation.
Yep.
It's
like wrong cylinder.
Yeah, wrong. Like a classic cylinder mistake. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Brock is going to ask Pete to watch the boys, but Pete asks about dietary restrictions. Noticing that Hank eats a lot of refined sugars, so Brock says he'll just get Orpheus to do it.
I love that. Just no, you're too much trouble. I will do extra work to avoid doing this.
Well, and also the show continuously shitting on Pete.
Well, of course.
The show hates Pete so much.
So Brock is in his car, his badass, his cherry ride, and he talks to his voice assistant. He wants information about his active assignment. They ask for his password, which of course is John Bonham Rocks, the drummer for Led Zeppelin. Obvs.
Yep. And he learned his mission, Operation Rusty's Blanket. He asked for information on the bodyguard termination clause, but it requires a higher level of clearance. So he's trying to find his code and read it, and it keeps telling him the wrong code, or he's got the wrong code. When he eventually gets it right, the car autopilot kicks in and tries to kill him.
Yeah.
It is his termination clause. I was unclear as whether it successfully took the code or is just too many login attempts here, when I first saw it. I think this is kind of a confusing episode.
Yes, there was probably a detail that was cut that would have clarified specifically what is going on here. Also because he's going to go and talk to Hunter, but also this is going to be subterfuge,
Yes.
Yeah.
If the idea was that the car would try to terminate him as soon as he put in that code, I wouldn't have done the shtick with him trying to read the code.
Yes. Yeah.
There's some weird, I like this episode a lot. There's some weird slop in it though. And it is a little bit confusing.
Yeah. So Brock has headed to Nightingale's to talk to Hunter Gathers, who is the featured dancer. I got no idea what Hunter's pronouns should be, so we're just going to go back and forth probably.
Yeah.
They refer to Hunter as a him, but it's... Yeah.
And Hunter goes back and forth as well.
Yes.
We talked about Hunter a lot. I love the dialogue.
Yeah.
Here, gin neat, you cretin.
And good God, that hack actually found it.
I love everyone's surprised that Rusty was the one who did this too. Later, it was very good.
Yeah.
He was like, "Do you want the good news or the bad news?" And he asked the good news. There's no good news. Just bad news and weird news.
And weird news.
Brock's job was never to protect Rusty, but instead something that Jonas hid from him. The idea was if Rusty had the noodle to find it, his father thought he'd be okay and know what to do with it, but I'm guessing he was wrong. And Brock's like, "Yep."
Yep. There's the pronounced P at the end of that is very good.
Super good.
Oh man. But the device is the orb. It's the orb that we saw in Sandoz flashback. And Hunter, circles some stuff, revealing, orders regarding bodyguard. That's orb. Operation Rusty's Blanket, orb. It was right there the whole time, but he doesn't know what the orb actually is. This is even above Hunter's pay grade.
Yep. So he helps him out. You know, he needs to get to the second, so he gives him some spending cash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this comes up. There's another time where he gives him a car and some money. I don't know why Brock doesn't just have cash here, but it is good that he just gives him the wad and just, don't you dare ask me what I did to get those $100 bills.
Yeah, get on your grind, Hunter. Come on, make that paper.
Brock, and at some point, like on the way there, Brock books a flight to New York as well. Like he has the boys do it and stuff. Like it again, real fiddly. He eventually gets to where he's supposed to be going. Here he's walking down this hallway following a tracker into this apartment, and Kano bursts through a closet and grabs him. Grabbing him on a stranglehold, but Brock reverses it and brings Kano down on him, crushing him in a 69 position.
So, you know, Brock gets up and dusts himself off, like, okay, this is a misunderstanding. Here's let's re-square off. And Kano speaks. This is the first time that we've heard Kano speak, you know, saying, oh, he never imagined that they would send Brock to kill him.
Yeah, send you. Like he knew somebody was coming.
Yes,
but he didn't think this would happen. Brock is like, "Well, aren't you mute?" And he says, "No, you know, I went voluntarily silent as penance for taking a great man from the world." This is some weird detail because every time Kano is shown, regardless of when it is on the timeline, he is silent.
Yep.
Even before the taking of a great man. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if that's playing the same rib twice and making two distinctly different tones, or if that, you know, where that's at. But I mean, ding, CinemaSin.
I mean, it's done in service of a gag, which is what is somebody who hasn't been able to speak for many decades. What wisdom does he have? Kind of like waiting in there. No, he's just really enthusiastic to talk about Top Chef. And he wants to go to karaoke to sing the Humpty Dance.
I love that Brock watches Top Shelf. I love that he's like, "Do you watch Top Shelf?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't like Top Design though." That's perfect to me. That's the good part of that joke. It's just a weird what it feels like to me is a little bit too much red herring chaff.
Yeah.
And it's them definitely drawing the road as they walk over it, because at this point, I am sure they did not know who Kano actually killed. You know, and what happened here. Like, I'm sure they did not have that story in mind.
Yes.
You know, learning when we were in the first episode of this and we're like, man, this foreshadowing stuff is amazing. Reading all the books and doing all the commentary and being like, no, they just include a lot of details so they can draw stuff around it later.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's not less admirable or less difficult to do or less cool, I don't think.
Right.
But I think that it does kind of give lie to a lot of the grand planniness of this show. You know, it's not really what they're doing. These are more like talented improvisers than they are long-term architects, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, the talented improviser, like, these are details and contradictions I never noticed when I was just watching this casually. It just kind of also highlights this close of a read isn't what this was designed for. You know,
no, not remotely. You know, like those guys would hate this show.
Yes.
Again, I don't know if that's true, but nobody tell them. Brock says like he's not there to kill Kano. He's looking for answers about the orb. Kano laughs and says, asking if Rusty found it looking for change in the couch cushions. Which is because everybody dismisses Rusty.
Even Kano, not spoken, just his opinion is that Rusty is just a hack. He's hapless. Yeah. Just complete disdain for the man.
Yep. Kano pulls out his the cylinder that he has, and he's like, "Well, what the hell does Doc have? Knowing Rusty, a roll of toilet paper, which is what he does have."
Right.
And we cut over to Rusty and Billy in the bathroom backstage at Studio 54. I love this little bit where like, how's the Coke built? You know, in the room of quiet whistlers. Okay, the backstage bathroom. Just like, okay. Behind the wild gray gentleman, and they just motion over to a bathroom attendant who doesn't do anything, but just looks like looks like a mad scientist.
Yeah,
doesn't respond to them pointing out and being like, behind the wild gray gentleman. It's very funny.
He's just a background element. And Billy's like, and I assure you, the serial number on that baby changing table is the 221210.
Yeah. Very funny. The Dr. Orpheus shows up and is like, I don't think the code would mention Studio 54 if this was from the Victorian age. Good point. Even though we did have the anachronism with the website in the Venture Brothers cartoon as well. But he says, since this is from the turn of the century, I've got a cipher master I know who knows the 19th century like the back of their hand.
Yeah. And he actually projects away, and I love that Hank and Dean, either they always do this, or they have always wanted to do this. They know immediately we go grab toilet paper and wrap it around Orpheus's his body while he astrally projects,
like TPM.
Yep. And the Cipher Master, of course, is the alchemist. We get Al here, and it's a bummer that we don't get more Al. I want Al and Billy to go and do this stuff.
Apparently, there's deleted scene stuff with Al.
Yeah.
And it's not Doc explaining Wikipedia as he likes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's him more talking about his ex-boyfriend, which I am down for. We get our flashback. This is Brock listening to the tape. It's a flashback to the Gilded Age with Sandow telling Venture he doesn't think it's a good idea to use the orb. And Venture just exposition dumps the origin of the orb. Like, Sandow would know this.
Yeah.
It's very funny. He's just like, it's the orb. Archimedes began the orb's construction. Da Vinci, Newton, and Galileo added to it. All the great thinkers, poets, and scientists have had the orbs in their hand. Nobody knows what the orb is, but he believes is an eternal engine, a power source, because he is a man of hope.
Yes.
This is something that his grandson would take and use as the sign off for the show.
Yes. So Venture, he makes this resolution. He is going to activate the orb. And this results in Sandow strangling Colonel Venture to stop it.
Or so we are led to believe.
Yes.
At this point.
Right.
There's some misdirection with this later in the Revenge Society episode, I believe. But right now, that is the implication.
Yes, this is what Sandow confesses into the cylinder. Keeps going, but he is just using this fantastic technology to list some chocolate recipes. The real Sandow went on to become a chocolatier, like in his retirement from bodybuilding, which is a real fun 180.
Yeah, it's like Mark McGrath. He's got that kind of career path.
Yeah.
Just nobody could predict it.
But Kano kept it. That's why Kano kept this, so he could have the chocolate recipes.
Yeah, he likes to bake.
Yeah.
So Brock puts two and two together. Like, basically the idea here is that bodyguards are assigned to Ventures, but they're really not there to guard their body. They're there to kill them in case they get the orb.
Yes.
He asks if Kano killed Jonas Venture Sr., and Kano goes quiet.
Right.
Again, we're going to find out more about this later.
Yeah. So the alchemist back at the compound says, hey, we need to start all over from this. You guys got the Manhattan part right, the whole minuet's bargain, but you went off in the wrong direction. And he says, hey, Pete, go to a dictionary. The internet's useless for this. Like, go get an actual dictionary. It's only good for finding out if your boyfriend is sleeping around on you. I love this. It says reading your friend's comments on your MySpace profile hardly counts as snooping.
It just shows up.
Yeah. It's
I want the extended scene of that.
Yep.
The first definition for coke is the residue left after burning coal. So it's not, they're not trying to find cocaine. They're trying to find a coal magnate with a home in Manhattan.
Yes.
Maybe my favorite scene in the episode is Billy tunneling into the wall and the security guard walking in, and Rusty pretending that Billy is his son changing his pants. He's just like, okay, little Billy, put your legs up. And the security guard says, he's like, he's going to be a football player there. Well, carry on. Don't let me stop you. Which is one of the weirder fucking things that somebody could do. Like, I'm changing my baby and just being like, well, do you mind if I pull up a seat? I never pass up the opportunity to see a baby be changed. It's a miracle.
Oh man, it's
so weird.
And Billy, like, after this is over, he whispers, "This is how we lost George Michael."
I can't remember how we lost George Michael.
George Michael was fooling around with an underage person in a bathroom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That came up last night for some reason. We were talking about how he's a good dude.
George Michael,
like well considered. Yeah. Like well known to be like a really good dude, where he like had like paid for fans ways through college and all that kind of shit.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make sure legal
George
troubles.
Michael. Yeah, you're wrong, man. George Michael died in his bed in 2016 in his home.
No, I didn't say he died that way. He was arrested for engaging in a lewd act in the restroom of the Will Rogers Memorial Park in Beverly Hills. He was arrested by an undercover policeman. I'm reading Wikipedia. That's pretty funny. Yeah. So it wasn't underage. I think you're saying
this is how we lost him is what.
Right, made you think. Yeah, so George Michael, so it wasn't somebody underage. I apologize for making that accusation. But yeah, it was like an anonymous sex thing. So I think when Billy said like, oh, this is how we lost George Michael, like, you know, it's kind of like, oh, this is how we lost Pee Wee Herman, right? You know, busted on a lewd act in public.
Yeah, even though we lost neither of them.
Right.
Is a weird. I don't know, like something about Doc episodes every once in a while brings the editor out in me where I just want to be like, I want to quantum leap into Jackson for a minute and fix all these little tiny things, like just a word choice thing.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happened to George Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
so
lost doesn't mean a lot of things.
It does. Yeah.
Or it doesn't. Like if we lost somebody, like that's, you know, I don't know. I feel like that strongly implies one thing.
Yeah.
They get radioed to go to the Frick Museum. And the audience, the spectator security guard ask what that's about, and Billy has to cover for it, which is very good.
My DS Lite, goo goo gaga. Realize he probably shouldn't be able to talk if they're changing his diaper. Yeah,
so good.
So Al asks, you know, Hank, who is sitting there with the code, you know, how is the wild and wild gray gentleman spelled? Hank thinks that it's spelled just, you know, the old fashioned way, just with a superfluous E at the end, the way all oldie things were done. And no, it's, you know, just an E at the end. It's a surname. It's like Oscar Wilde.
Yeah. Yeah. They just figure out the riddle.
Yeah.
You know, like they crack the code about the Frick Museum, the room of quiet whistlers, the whistler wing at the Frick. Wild Gray Gentleman is the portrait that that conspiracy, you know, that theory that Doc Hammer has.
Yeah, the portrait of Montesquieu.
Yeah. So we cut over to Billy breaking into the Frick, dropping in through the skyline, shooting a little line launcher, you know, and Rusty just walking up behind him, you know, a whole lot of come on, tell me you never wanted to do that.
Right.
Kind of thing. They get to the painting and they're going to just destroy it. But Rusty's like, what if we check the room behind the painting?
Which is, you know, which Billy's like, okay, yeah, that's right. Also, Rusty's back. Like, you know, and Rusty is actually like, you know, kind of enjoying this. It's fun to be back in the rhythm. Right.
Yeah. He's having a good time.
Yeah.
And Brock has gotten there at the same time. He's kind of stalking them, pulling out a knife, thinking he might have to kill Doc.
Yeah.
At this point, Rusty and Billy get to the office behind the painting, and Billy is checking the subs, or the shelves rather, when Rusty realizes that the code, the 221210, is a substitution cipher for the letters orb in the clue text.
Yes.
So the 22nd letter is O, the 12th is R, and the 10th is B.
Yeah. And this is really okay. Like that is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for an orb, and he looks off to the side and sees that there is an orb just out in plain sight, acting as a paperweight. You know, and he says it's a thing his dad said. You know, like, oh, I always hide it in plain sight. It's just the old purloined letter trick, right?
Yeah. Yep. So Billy needs to know what it is because he's there for the mystery. But Rusty says, you know, my dad was a shitty father, but he was a good scientist. If he hid this, he hid it for a reason. We need to figure out what it does and if it can help mankind. Yeah. And then he does the quote from the episode, because we are not only men of science, we are men of hope. Billy finishing it.
Yeah. And Rusty's like, how did you know how I was going to finish that? Oh, it ends every episode, right? Yeah. And you know, Rusty is like into this enough that he actually agrees. Oh, we're gonna do a Go Team venture. You know, so they do this as Brock, you know, looking on, realize, okay, he's not going to use the orb, so he doesn't have to kill his friend and his employer or his client. Or I guess just a dude he needs to be near while guarding this thing.
Yeah. So the post credits, Rusty puts the orb in a safe behind the Mayan calendar in the pool room. So orb is extant, but it's just going to hibernate for a season. Yeah. Hank asks what the treasure was, and Rusty says it was just a note from his father. You know, which is a sweet little moment. Yeah. Rusty asks where Brock is because he needs to clean up his room. It's a pigsty because they tunneled into it. And Brock had smuggled his way back on the X1. When he gets out of his car, the sentient Dodge Charger, his headlights turn on him and speed towards him, giving us a freeze frame and a little intro into the season finale.
Yes, the 2-part season finale that we will talk about the first part of next week.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, a weird episode. Like, I like this episode. It's I wish I can't remember what the last episode that I felt this way about, but I had a strong, like, it needs more jokes feeling to it. Like, I don't think it's that funny. It's cool, but I don't think it's that funny. It's not the perfect mix for me.
Yeah, there's just there needs to be like a balance to it. I mean, it feels a little bit like a companion to 20 Minutes to Midnight almost.
Yeah. Which is also a good kind of globetrotting National Treasure kind of thing. I think 20 Minutes to Midnight does a little bit more work with the jokes. Than this one does. This one is more like just cool concepts. The Gilded Age, like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen guild is cool. This idea of this line of bodyguards that have this job, that's cool. And it's sweet. This idea, Billy being able to team up with Rusty Venture to solve a mystery is very sweet. It just hangs together in kind of a weird way to me. Not bad, but just kind of like puts it kind of in the middle of the season for me, when my memories of this were like, oh man, that's the one where everything changes. And I think what I was remembering was my feeling when I first watched it and was like, holy shit. Everything's different now. And that's just not the show that we're watching.
No. We're as we talk about the balance between jokes and story, they're going to get better at hitting that. There's still going to be, 2 different kinds of episodes. But we are still kind of where they're bifurcated, right?
Yeah, they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with that.
And I don't think this would have benefited by being like a 2-parter or by being an hour-long special or whatever. I think that it was probably a good instinct to cut it down. I think it probably needed to be cut down in a way that didn't sacrifice clarity. But I had never felt more sympathy for somebody than when Doc Hammer was describing, like, I was cutting, description from the script in order to get it down to the proper page count, as somebody who has had to write for time limits before, like, oh no. So trying to decide what you're willing to get rid of, but also like what is necessary and how to paper over that loss is a very difficult thing to do.
I don't know if I would want it to be an hour-long special or anything. I kind of feel like if you take this with the 2 finale episodes, and between those 3 episodes, I think that, like, the finale episodes of the season I like a lot, but it is very bifurcated. Like, the first episode is just kind of like assassin fun. With Brock, which, like, I don't want to get rid of that. That's very fun. But it's not very plot important.
Right.
And then the second half ends up being significantly more so. I almost feel like these 3 episodes would make like a great 2 episodes. Or like these 3 episodes, if you moved, took some of the time from the first part of the finale and used it here for some of this stuff. I almost would have done it like the intro to season 7, which is essentially a 3-parter.
That's what I was going to say. Like, treat all 3 of these episodes together as if it was a miniature movie that you were separating into parts. And just kind of shuffle some stuff around. Move some detail and incident out of orb, spread it into the next couple a little more, keep people separated, and in a way, and have concurrent storylines going on.
Ambition is no bad thing. It's not obnoxious that it's too ambitious. It's just a little unwieldy. If people like the show, they should head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. That is the strongest thing you can do to support us.
Close behind that is telling a friend or leaving a rating or review in iTunes or whichever directory you get this show from. We would appreciate it. You can also tell your friends if you have Venture Brothers friends. We will be back next episode with an episode with the finale, and then we'll do the season 3 wrap up, which I'm excited about. If you have things to say about the season 3, we'll read some responses if people have those. So we'll put out the call for that more, but as we're approaching the end of the season.
that is more extant, more on the horizon.
If you have thoughts about those, like on the way, as we approach, where you would write those in, go to duckfeed.tv/contact. There's a button for writing in about orb. You can click there, and it'll go to the right place.
Yeah. And that's everything. Until next time,
Go Team Venture.